Hey everyone, and welcome back to BlockZa. You know us, we're all about supporting journalists and giving you the best crypto insights out there. I'm Kyle, and I'm here to guide you through all the twists and turns of the blockchain world. And of course, I couldn't do it without my trusty AI sidekick, BlockZa.
Yeah, glad to be here. I'll be jumping in to add some extra context and help you see the bigger picture.
Today we're doing a deep dive into something that's got everyone talking before it. Ethereum's upcoming Pectra upgrade. We've been digging through articles, research papers, even some heated discussions online, all about Pectra and what it could mean for the price of ETH in 2025.
And let me tell you, there are some seriously wild predictions floating around.
Oh, I can't resist a good price prediction. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics. What exactly is Pectra? BlockZa, can you give us the rundown?
Absolutely. Pectra is the next big upgrade to the Ethereum network. It's actually two upgrades in one Prog for the execution layer and Electra for the consensus layer. Think of it like this. Prog focuses on how smart contracts work, and Electra handles the proof-of-stake mechanism that keeps the network secure.
Got it. So two upgrades, one big impact, but why combine them? What's the logic there?
Well, it's all about efficiency. Bundling Prog and Electra streamlines the whole process, reduces complexity, and makes things easier for the developers.
Makes sense. So this supercharged upgrade is coming to the Ethereum network sometime in late 2024 or early 2025. The sources can't seem to agree on the exact timing, which adds to the suspense. But the real question is, what's it all for? What issues is Pectra designed to solve?
The big three: scalability, security, and user experience. Pectra aims to make Ethereum faster, more secure, and simpler to use, paving the way for wider adoption.
Okay, that's a pretty ambitious to-do list, and we know Pectra is packed with new features and improvements. One that caught my eye, and it seems to be on everyone's mind, is EIP 307-4. BlockZa, what can you tell us about this mysterious proposal?
EIP 3074 is all about revolutionizing wallet functionality. Imagine if your crypto wallet could do so much more than just send and receive ETH.
Okay, now you've got me intrigued. Tell me more.
Imagine batching multiple transactions together and only signing off once, saving time and gas fees. Or picture this: you could set up sponsored transactions where someone else covers your gas fees. This would be huge for onboarding new users who might be on the fence because of the cost.
Now that's a game changer. Anything else?
EIP 3074 also proposes a social recovery feature. This would let you get back into your account without those tricky seed phrases.
Wait, so no more frantically searching for that scrap of paper you scribbled your seed phrase on years ago. That sounds like a dream come true.
It could be, but we have to remember every new technology has potential risks as well as rewards.
All right, let's talk about the potential downsides. What should users be cautious about with EIP 3074?
One concern is the reliance on trusted invokers. These are basically smart contracts that handle transaction signing on your behalf. It's kind of like choosing a bank. You want to make sure your invoker contract is from a reliable source with a solid track record.
So it's all about doing your homework and choosing your invokers carefully. Got it. What other potential risks are there?
Another risk is replay attacks. This is where an attacker intercepts and rebroadcasts a valid transaction. Developers are working on safeguards to minimize these risks, but it's crucial for users to be aware of these vulnerabilities.
So EIP 3074 has some awesome features, but security is still paramount. It sounds like the developers are on top of the risks and are actively working on solutions. But it's definitely something for users to consider as Pectra gets closer. BlockZa, you mentioned that EIP 3074 is just one of many proposals included in Pectra. What else is on the table?
One that stood out to me is EIP 7251, which proposes increasing the maximum validator balance from 32 ETH to a massive 2,048 ETH.
Wow, that's a huge leap. Why the change? What's the reasoning behind that?
It's about simplifying the validator selection process, and it could lead to greater consolidation among staking providers.
Fewer validators, but with bigger stakes. That's interesting. What could that mean for the average ETH holder who's interested in staking?
That's a fantastic question, and one we'll definitely explore further in the next part of our deep dive. We'll also look at some real-world examples of how Pectra's upgrades could be used, and we'll dig into those price predictions everyone's buzzing about. Stay with us.
Okay, so we've covered the basics of Pectra and some key upgrades like EIP 3074 and EIP 7251. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How is this upgrade going to affect the average Ethereum user? I need some real-world examples.
All right, let's say you're a freelancer getting paid in crypto, and you want to automatically split your earnings between savings, investments, and expenses. Right now, that could mean multiple transactions, and each one comes with its own gas fee. But with EIP 3074 and its batching feature, you could bundle all those allocations into a single transaction, saving time and money.
Okay, that's a pretty nice perk, especially if you're dealing with lots of transactions. What else could make our lives easier?
How about sponsored transactions? Imagine you're showing your friend a cool new dApp, but they're hesitant because of gas fees. With EIP 3074, you could actually sponsor their first few transactions, giving them a taste of Ethereum without the upfront cost.
Okay, that's some outside-the-box thinking. That could be a game changer for bringing new users into the ecosystem. So we've seen how Pectra could benefit individuals, but what about organizations like DAOs?
DAOs. These decentralized autonomous organizations are essentially communities governed by code and smart contracts, kind of like internet native co-ops. And guess what? Pectra could make them way more efficient. For example, think about all the actions a DAO has to take. Distributing funds, voting on proposals, executing decisions. Currently, each action might require a separate transaction signed off by multiple members. But with EIP 3.7.4, they could streamline those actions into a single transaction, making DAOs much more agile and responsive.
So Pectra could be a catalyst for the evolution of DAOs, potentially making them more mainstream. That's pretty exciting.
It is. And let's not forget about staking. Remember EIP 7251 and the increased maximum validator balance. This could encourage more consolidation among staking providers?
We touched on that earlier, but why should the average person care about validator consolidation?
Well, imagine staking providers having the resources to invest in better infrastructure and security measures. This increased professionalism could attract institutional investors, bringing more capital into the Ethereum ecosystem and ultimately strengthening the network.
Okay, I see the potential benefits there. But couldn't consolidation also lead to worries about centralization?
That's a valid concern. It's definitely something the community will need to watch closely. The key is striking the right balance between efficiency and decentralization. And that's an ongoing conversation within the Ethereum community.
Makes sense. So we've seen how Pectra could impact everyday users, DAOs, and even the staking landscape.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, the question on everyone's mind is,
Drumroll, please. Will Pectra send ETH to the moon?
exactly, those $10,000 ETH predictions are making headlines, and I know our listeners want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, let's dive into the price speculation frenzy. On the bullish side, Pectra tackles some big criticisms of Ethereum, like scalability and user experience. If it lives up to the hype, it could bring in a flood of new users and developers, driving up demand for ETH.
That's a solid argument for the bulls. More users, more demand, higher price, simple economics. But what about the skeptics? What are the bears saying?
Well, some say that Pectra's impact is already priced in. Remember, the crypto market thrives on anticipation, so any expected benefits from the upgrade might already be reflected in ETH's current price. Plus, there's always that buy the rumor, sell the news phenomenon. Some traders might buy ETH leading up to Pectra and then sell as soon as it launches, potentially causing a temporary dip.
Ah, the classic crypto roller coaster. So even with a groundbreaking upgrade, we can still expect some short-term price swings.
Exactly. And don't forget those external factors like the global economy and regulations. Those can throw a curveball no matter how amazing the tech is.
Right, so trying to predict prices is always risky. But you know, I can't help but indulge in some of those juicy forecasts. Have you come across any interesting predictions in your research?
Actually, I have. One website called Ethereum Price Prediction 2025, Bright Future Ahead for ETH, published an article on October 21st, 2024, predicting that ETH could hit $3,700 by the end of 2025. They specifically pointed to the recent approval of ETH ETFs as a major growth driver.
$3,700 ETH by the end of next year. That's a pretty bold prediction.
It is, but remember, this prediction is based on their own methodology, which focuses on wave count analysis. It's just one approach to forecasting prices, and it's not foolproof by any means.
Right. Every analyst has their own methods and biases. It's important to take any single prediction with a grain of salt.
Absolutely. And to be fair, this particular source acknowledges that price forecasts are often off the mark, especially in the volatile crypto world. They stress the importance of doing your own research and not blindly following predictions.
Sound advice. So we have one source predicting a $3,700 target. Any other predictions worth mentioning?
Well, Kraken, a major cryptocurrency exchange, published an article titled Ethereum Pectra Upgrade, what it means for ETH holders. They don't give a specific price target, but they're optimistic about Pectra's potential to boost adoption. They argue that the upgrade's focus on account abstraction and scalability could make Ethereum much more appealing to both users and developers.
So Kraken is focusing on the fundamentals instead of throwing out wild guesses about prices. I appreciate that approach.
Me too. It's refreshing to see an analysis that highlights the long-term potential of the technology instead of just chasing quick profits.
Agreed. Any other sources we should mention?
There's a website called Spectra Chain with an article titled Harmonizing Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're discussing a project that combines Bitcoin's security with Ethereum's smart contract capabilities. While they don't explicitly mention Pectra, they do emphasize the growing importance of interoperability and scalability in the blockchain space.
Interesting. So even though they're not directly addressing Pectra, they're touching on themes that are very relevant to Ethereum's future. The need for different blockchains to work together smoothly is becoming more and more important.
Exactly, and that broader context is crucial to keep in mind. Pectra is just one piece of the puzzle as the blockchain landscape continues to evolve and mature.
So we have lots of speculation, some concrete predictions, and a reminder that Pectra is part of a much bigger picture. But before we get too caught up in the future of Ethereum, there's one crucial aspect of Pectra we haven't talked about yet.
And what's that?
The potential impact on the Ethereum community itself and its overall development roadmap. After all, any major upgrade can have ripple effects that go way beyond price changes.
You're absolutely right. That's a critical piece of the puzzle we need to examine. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore how Pectra might shape the future of Ethereum and the wider blockchain ecosystem. Stick around.
All right, so we're back, and we've spent this deep dive dissecting the technical side of Pectra. We've analyzed price predictions, and we've even imagined ourselves effortlessly batching transactions with those superpowered wallets. But now let's take a step back and consider the human element, the Ethereum community itself. How might this upgrade impact the developers, the users, the innovators who are driving this incredible technology forward?
That's a great question. After all, Ethereum is more than just code and charts. It's a living, breathing ecosystem, a global community united by the shared vision of a decentralized future.
Exactly. And a major upgrade like Pectra has the potential to shape that vision. It could spark debates, drive innovation, and maybe even cause a few headaches along the way. So let's explore those potential ripple effects. BlockZa, where do we start?
Well, one area to watch closely is the evolution of Ethereum's governance. As the network gets more complex, the decision-making process becomes even more important. You've got developers, miners, users, investors, all these stakeholders with different perspectives and priorities. Reaching consensus on big changes can be tough, even in the best of times.
And Pectra definitely throws some new wrenches into the mix, right? Like those trusted invokers we discussed. That adds a whole new layer of complexity for the community to navigate.
Absolutely. The community will need to carefully consider the implications of these changes and make sure that decision-making remains transparent and accountable.
So in a sense, Pectra could act as a catalyst for more discussions and refinements to Ethereum's governance model. It's pushing everyone to think critically about how decisions are made and how the network evolves.
Exactly. And those discussions are crucial. Debate and critical evaluation are essential for any healthy ecosystem.
Right, so governance is one part of the puzzle. What other areas of the community might Pectra affect?
Another interesting dynamic is the potential impact on developers and innovation. Will Pectra spark a wave of new projects and dApps, or will it create obstacles for developers?
I can see both sides. On the one hand, those upgrades, particularly EIP 3.3074, open up all sorts of possibilities for building more user-friendly and feature-rich dApps. That could attract tons of new developers to Ethereum, which would boost innovation and creativity.
That's the optimistic scenario. But some developers have voiced concerns about the complexity and potential security risks of EIP 3074. If those concerns aren't addressed, it could lead to some developers seeking alternative solutions like Layer 2 networks or even different blockchains altogether.
So there's a chance of fragmentation within the developer community if Pectra isn't implemented carefully.
Right. The success of Pectra in terms of building a unified and vibrant developer community depends on the Ethereum Foundation and core developers providing clear guidance, addressing concerns, and offering solid support to the people building on the platform.
It all comes down to communication and collaboration as always. So we've talked about governance and developer activity. What about the broader picture? The long-term roadmap for Ethereum? How might Pectra influence the path forward?
Well, I think one clear takeaway is that the Ethereum community is staying focused on its goals of scalability and sustainability. Pectra is a big step in the right direction, but it's not the end goal. It's setting the stage for even more ambitious upgrades down the line.
You keep mentioning Verkle Trees. Any updates on when those might become a reality?
They're still being developed, but they're widely viewed as a critical element in achieving Ethereum's scalability goals. Verkle Trees offer a more efficient way to store and verify data on the blockchain, which could lead to much higher transaction throughput.
So Pectra brings some immediate improvements, but it's also laying the foundation for an even more powerful and resilient Ethereum in the years to come.
Exactly. It's an important message for users and investors alike. Ethereum isn't a static platform. It's constantly evolving, adapting, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Pectra, what are your final thoughts? What should our listeners take away from all this?
I think the key message is this. Pectra is a huge milestone, a pivotal moment in Ethereum's journey, but it's just one chapter in a much longer story. It delivers real benefits for users in terms of experience efficiency and security, but it also raises important questions about governance, development, and the future of the entire Ethereum ecosystem.
It's a story filled with both challenges and opportunities.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important for users and investors to stay informed, participate in the discussion, and make smart decisions based on research and a healthy dose of skepticism.
I couldn't agree more. Well, this has been a truly insightful deep dive into Pectra and the future of Ethereum. Thanks for joining me on this journey, BlockZa.
The pleasure was all mine, Kyle. Remember, everyone, the best way to navigate this ever-changing world of crypto is to keep learning, keep exploring, and keep those questions coming.
And for more in-depth analysis of the latest happenings in crypto, make sure to subscribe to BlockZa and check out pro.blockza.io. Until next time, stay curious and keep on diving.